Welcome back. You're watching the Press Club. Before the break, we were talking about the reasons for polls, how they're able to affect elections.
Yeah, I was saying that the Cadres poll was meant, the results of the Cadres poll said to the UWP, you ain't win yet, you can work, but you ain't win yet. The momentum is on your side, but it will be too close to call, so you better work to make sure that that call is on your side. That was not the message that was given. When the poll was released, it was treated like, listen, the polls say we will win.
Foregone conclusion.
Yeah, foregone conclusion. And I think that is the part we have to be careful about. The findings of a poll, which is meant to be a guide, is for obvious reasons, and you can't tell a party, don't use a poll finding, don't put that to work in its interest.
Yeah, but how do you put it to work? Do you keep it, as in the SLP's case, keep it to close to your chest, use it to guide your strategy, or as in the case of, well, I wouldn't say the UWP because they're not the ones who made it public, just made it public. But then you have to be concerned about how it's going to affect voter turnout. We already have a 50% voter turnout, which is already low. Do you risk putting polls or results for polls out like that will cause people to feel complacent that our party has it?
Well, I think that is the reason why the SLP did not issue the poll. I mean, the Prime Minister referred to the poll, to the Don Anderson poll, in a radio interview in response to a question. He was saying, you know, he was asked, well, have you all not done a poll? And he said, yes, we've done this poll, and the poll has said so and so and so. But I think that, again, the question of political education, the treatment of the masses, the voters, the electorate as sheep, the treatment, their treatment as persons only being important on election day. The whole question of buying votes is something that any vote that is bought and paid for is not a vote, it's a commodity. You know, anybody who is paid to vote has been disenfranchised, has been made to disenfranchise themselves insofar as their participation in democracy.
But let's talk a little bit about buying votes, because in some places, in some constituencies or jurisdictions in the U.S., for instance, it's an accepted practice to incentivize voters to come out, you know, to go
in the Philippines, they throw money off the platform.
Right. It's not illegal. But the question I have, and I think other people have, we listened to Thurl Prudent on Newsmaker Live this week, and it seems to be a similar concern for him, that by doing that, yes, you're getting people out to vote, but they don't have the knowledge and the voter education.
I'm not even arguing that, because that is simply wrong.
Why?
Buying votes, paying somebody to vote, it is wrong. It is. What is a vote? A vote is is expression, sorry, of the individual right of you know, the individual participating in democracy, making a choice. That's supposed to come from you. You're supposed to decide, I'm voting or I'm not voting. It's like the no vote campaign. I don't want nobody to tell me don't vote. I want that to be my decision. So don't come out with a no vote campaign and tell me stay home to spite Kenny Anthony or to spite Alan Shastney. Similarly, because of that same reason, I don't want anybody to tell me who to vote for. The Labour Party knows where I'll vote, they assume. But when each of us goes in that box, it is we who decide. And therefore, even when you give somebody $50 or $100 inside a T-shirt to vote for you, when that person goes in there, you have no idea what he or she does. Now, the people who would accept, anybody I think will accept $100.
Of course.
You know, whether in a jersey or not. Anybody, $100 goes a long way. $50 can go some way as well. But having taken that 100 note or $50 note, if you allow that to be the thing that is, the factor that is going to make you decide who you're going to vote for, then your vote has been bought. It wasn't yours. Your mind was made up for you by $100 or by $50. In most instances, the people who take the money are not people who will go and vote for who they were asked to vote because they believe in that person or that party. They're voting for the $50 or $100. And I have heard guys say, one said in hearing of everybody, one party offered me 50, the other one offered me 100. I take in the 100 and I go in and cheer up the vote. Okay, eventually I met him. He had I said, let me see your finger, you vote? He said, yeah, I vote. I say, who you vote for? And he tell me, the fella. I said, the fella. We knew he and I knew who we were talking about. So it was a fella versus a woman. Oh, let's go straight. A fella versus a woman versus a Rasta. He tell me it's usually a man, a woman, and a Rasta. So I say, who you vote for? The fella. I say, what party put the X? X. I put my finger on his face. I say, your finger. He say, my fingerprint here. I put it on his face. I say, but you waste your vote. He say, how you mean? But that's who they tell me vote for the man. I say, yeah, but what you do? He said, well, I put the vote for him. I put it on his face. I say, well, you vote, you lose your vote. He said, well, they have another $100 on me. Now, a character like that, even if he had voted as he ought to, and his vote was counted, and had the candidate won by one vote, I mean, everybody who casts a vote would have a right to say it was my vote. I would have said it was his. Now, would it have been fair to everybody else who voted honestly to have had their result swung in a different way as a result of that paid vote?
How do you even judge if somebody's vote is honest?
Yeah, well,
you know.
Yeah. But bottom line, I don't think
the bigger issue is how do we get the voter turnout to increase? What is the role of the media?
The role of the media, okay, that is where I think, and that's up my line, the role of the media has the most important role to get that voter out there to go and vote. But that is, unfortunately, the media sees its role in politics only when elections are approaching. The way I do it, I think the media's role in helping get people to better understand why they should participate in the politics is a constant role. And that should not be happening at elections, but between elections. So we had, what was our turnout this year?
It was about 53%?
Yeah, you're right. So you had a 47% abstention. Now, I want to see a campaign, not a political campaign, but I would like to see media houses recognize that almost half of the people who ought to are not making use of their franchise. Let's find out why. Let's not just assume that because the politicians put them off or our politics backward. You know, I mean, your interview with Rick Wynn, your first question to him about why he doesn't vote or whether he's voted. I mean, the average 90% of the average viewers were surprised that Rick has never voted, you know, and was not voting. Okay, but the explanation Rick gave is not one that Granny would give, or uncle would give, or niece would give. Each would give a different reason. So, first of all, we have to find out why people stay in home. And secondly, do people have an understanding of adult suffrage, the process, that thing that our grandfathers fought for in 1951, the right to vote? Do St. Lucians sufficiently understand that once upon a time you had to have property to be able to vote in St. Lucia? Do St. Lucians understand that there are places where people don't have voting rights? And this is not political education campaign. It is a political education campaign, but not a partisan one, you know, and I think that that is where, say, a media association, an association of publishers and broadcasters, you know, people in the media, people who matter and who care about the role of the media in this society would perhaps, let's say, the parties, the media, the various institutions in the society come together and not leave it to the media, but have a national, remember, I've said more than once here in our interviews that I would have liked to see the John Compton Foundation and the George Charles Foundation come together, go to the United Nations, get assistance to have a 5-year program between elections, to introduce things like what is a candidate, you know, put certain basic requirements for before election, so that parties can agree, okay, to be a candidate, there are things you will have to have known and things you will have to have understood way ahead of an election. Read the Constitution, understand the standing orders of the House, know the difference between an MP, a minister, a district representative, and in that way bring in the whole question of, you look at why youth, who are the majority, are also among the majority of stayaways. You know, so what will it take to bring the youth? The once a year youth parliament is not enough. It has gone some way in building confidence in some young speakers, but again, that is once a year as part of National Youth Month or National Youth Day or whatever. So I'm saying St. Lucians are not sheep. We may behave like sheep, we may be described like sheep, but we are not sheep. And therefore, we have to find ways and means to address the 47% who are staying away. But we'll not be able to address that unless we find out, and we will not find out if we are waiting for them to call a talk show and say, I stayed home because none of them people didn't interest me.
Let's take another break. When we come back, we'll round up our conversation. We'll talk about some of the other aspects of the campaign, look at what's happening in the U.S., lessons for us here in St. Lucia, and your predictions and expectations. I guess all of us have those now of the new
next 100 days.
Yeah, we'll be right back.